welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. My name's Connor Williams, and we're back with another video today. Today, it is actually my tactical, statistical breakdown of the Everton Fulham game. If you don't follow me on Twitter, it's C Williams 61097, I believe. You'll see it in a minute. But I broke this down on Twitter as a 10-minute read. I just thought it's nice, it's easy. It's very easy to read. It's very well explained. There's nothing too much. But I just thought video format would also be good. It allows me to talk a little bit more, use better visual aids, and I'm not capped at 140 characters is the main one. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the so I'll run you down the tweet. So don't worry if you don't follow me on Twitter, you'll see it in a minute. You'll be able to see now it's C_Williams 61097. And here we have the stats for the game. So straight away, you can see better expected goals and expected assists, more chances as well, which is brilliant to see. Obviously, the score was 1-0 to Fulham, if you didn't know. Big chances missed. We have more big chances missed than hit the woodwork. Neil Maupay had 1.53 expected goals, which is more than their whole team managed, which is just sod's law. As you can see, though, they did do better on sort of passing. I believe their passing accuracy was a little bit better than ours. There you can see there 470 accurate passes. That's sort of where it gets the stats down. Here we can see the areas of the pitch. So you see centrally is where it was the busiest for both teams. And then as you can see here, we use the wings predominantly, the right and the left, but more that right-hand side. Whereas Fulham, again, using the wings, and they use the left-hand side. So our right, their left was a very busy sort of time. And as you can see here, I've put here that it's not surprising that the wings were the main outlet. Sean Dyche likes to defend in a V. He spoke about it on Coach's Voices. He likes his teams to defend in a V. You might be able to see my arrow here, but if you imagine the V, the defenders are going to stay in front of the box, pushing the opposition out wide, because that's really where they're less likely to do much damage. Obviously, if they've got a big forward, they can whip crosses in. That's still better than conceiving a chance where somebody's through one-on-one with your keeper. So that's why they do it. Now we have the average positions as well, which is a very interesting one. The most forward player being Alex Iwobi here, number 17. This was a 4-4-1-1 defensively. Formations are, when it's a 4-4-1-1, that just means that it's static state. So when your opposition have got the ball, the midfielder, your team should be dropping into a 4-4-1-1 or the 4-5-1 that we've seen Sean Dyche do. So number 8, who is Garner Gay, they'd all fit in a back 4-5. But on the attack, which is the average positions here, you can see Iwobi is almost forward attacker, followed by Maupay, followed by Decore in that almost shadow striker. The interesting one here is these two very close together. Obviously, these are in the central areas. The 16, 13, and 17 are in central areas. So they've not got much space to mess with. But the two wingers, 37 and 2, is James Garner and Nathan Patterson. Now, just from the average position, you can see they're quite close together when there should be more space, and we're not very well distributed. 37 is our right winger, who is nowhere near as forward as our left winger. And then moving on, we have the passing maps, which are great to see where your passing channels are. You can see here, most passes attempted was Nathan Patterson, followed by Guay and Keane. Michael Keane had the most completed passes, followed by Idrissa Gueye, followed by Patterson. And Keane actually had the most progressive passes as well. Passes completed, sorry. And then he had the third most progressive passes attempted at 14. Pickford with 22, and then Patterson at 16. Michael Keane actually managed, out of those 14, to complete 10 of those progressive passes. Onana managed 6, but Onana received 10. He's really good for receiving it. And Danjuma, who came on the wing, managed 5 for just his short cameo, which is really impressive. But as you can see from the map here, the left back stays at the halfway line. We've got the two centre backs there passing to the RCM, which is Idrissa Gueye. And you can see from the passing map there The shadow striker and the centre forward play close together so they can play off one another. Iwobi's stretching the play out on the left there, trying to stretch the play and cause more space, trying to bring the opposition's fullbacks out, causing more space for Doucouré and Calvert-Lewin to, well, not Calvert-Lewin, Neil Moipai to get into. Again, you can see here the right mid and the right back far too close together, hardly a passing lane there. It almost felt like they were standing over each other, which is a little bit irritating. And I think it might be because James Garner is obviously not a right midfielder, out and out, a right winger. And he has played at fullback. I know he can do a job at fullback, but this just sort of highlights that maybe as a right mid, you want a bit more of an attacking outlet there. We'll get into what I think might be the best way forward with that now. So as you can see here, this is a very pretty board. I will revert it back to the start and pause it. So here's our team. Number 5 will be James Garner. They're not numbered actually because I didn't have the time or the effort. And number 4 is Patterson. This is how I would see us building an attack if I was sort of trying to do it. I would want Garner to tuck in, leaving Patterson to overlap him on the attack and just be able to cross the ball in. When I play this, ignore the defense. I completely forget about them till later. But yeah, as you can see it here, Garner starts to tuck in as Onana runs through. Patterson overlaps him and then plays the through ball there to Patterson. Moipai and Doucouré are there. Patterson has loads of space now. He can pass back to Onana, who's offering support, or he can run down the line and cross it into the number 10 or the number 6. Or the number 9 as well, which is what you want. It's just an easier way. Garner doesn't then have to try and beat his man, go to the byline. He can sort of just stop there and think and just tuck in, and it just takes defenders away as well. If their midfielder's there, he's wondering what James Garner's doing. All of a sudden, there's a free in midfield, which the fullbacks then like, oh, what do I do? The midfielder in front of him's already like, I'll tuck in. And hopefully Patterson can one-on-one try and get past the fullback. But you'd hope sort of with the striker and the shadow striker working together, they would take the fullback's attentions, causing the centre-backs, causing the fullback to be in a bit of, do I help my centre-backs who are 1-for-1 with the 2 attackers, or do I stop here and wait for this overlapping run? Most fullbacks in the Premier League tend to tuck in a little bit anyway, but there's the new revolution of inverted fullbacks, the Sinchenkos of the world, who just would fully come in. They would try and mark Garner. Garner would then struggle because it's sort of the centre mid and Zinchenko, a 2-man overload. But it does mean that the winger, if an out-and-out winger and an out-and-out fullback were there, it may be a little bit better then because you can cause overloads. Here we have the progressive passes sort of maps for all the players. You can see there, Jordan Pickford, most completed progressive passes. There's a reason he gets picked for England and is called, called for his good feet distribution, and it shows there, 65% of them. Michael Keane, very interesting. I know a lot of them are sideways, but there's a few progressive passes here, a few of them accurate as well. Really interesting. I actually thought Michael Keane had a really good game. And I thought he was watching it, and then statistically it sort of proved it. Garner here is his passing map. Again, like I said, not many going in, a lot going backwards. This bit here is a bit of a mess. I imagine this is where Patterson sort of comes in. Patterson did try to get along it. You can see there on the right, Patterson sort of midway has just a flurry of passes, and I imagine that's Garner. For what it's worth, Patterson did get more progressive passes into the box. Idrissa Gueye did very, very well. Safe passes, not many progressive ones, but nice and safe, 83%. Onana had a couple of progressive ones. It's fine for these to play safe as well. I'm absolutely fine for the likes of Idrissa Gueye to be playing it safe. Doucouré is quite interesting for a shadow striker. He was everywhere. His runs would have been very interesting, but you can see here, passes received location. That dark bit there is the right, which is where I think we mainly try to attack. If they're attacking down their left, they're going to leave space. I think our plan was to try and get in behind them. And then finally, we've got this, which is the defensive contributions. Both Michael Keane and Idrissa Gueye, like I put there, have had good games. Idrissa Gueye was mainly in the centre of the park. A couple of headers lost here, but mainly clearances here, interceptions and recoveries as well, which is really impressive to see. Absolutely fantastic by him. A couple of tackles won here where the team cut the ball, but also a couple of tackles where they didn't keep the ball. But it was mainly the interceptions here. Very, very good. You have Michael Keane as well. Again, very, very good here with clearances and interceptions and recoveries. Not many times. He lost a couple of headers. There weren't many times where he lost a tackle or gave away a foul. And I think they're the main two. Obviously, Patterson Garner here down the right has a very interesting one. And Patterson's will sort of allude to that as well. So that right-hand side, although we were attacking or trying to attack down it, we were defending it really, really well to stop Fulham from getting through there. Overall, despite the result, I actually think you could take some very, very good positives from Dyche's Everton, the 4-4-1-1 display. With a clinical striker, you could argue we could have won the game as it is. But I think we just need an out-and-out winger, someone who can stretch the play. If you've got a Wobie on the left who's stretching them, and then someone like a Danjuma on the right, it pulls the fullbacks. The two can go one-on-one with the two strikers, or the striker and shadow striker can go one-on-one with the centre-backs, and it just causes a little bit more mess. But obviously, looking forward, we've now got Villa, who have just come off a 5-1 hammering to Newcastle, which is what we're looking at now. As you can see here, this is their average positions. You can sort of see the 4-4-2, 5 and 4 are the centre backs, 2's the right mid, 12's the left back, 2's the right back, 12's the left back, 6 and 44, the two centre mids, 31 the right winger, 7 the left winger, and 11 and 19 are the strikers. Very interesting that the number 7, the left winger, is definitely an inverted winger. He's coming in and tucking in to try and get close, which again, like I said with Garner as a wide playmaker, same with the inverted winger, it allows your fullback to overlap you. And just causes a little bit of confusion for the teams defending you. You see here on SofaScore, so Luca Dean, they had John McGinn, which is a very interesting one. We'll explain as well why he kept coming in. But Luca Dean would then go across here, across the fullback in, and Diaby almost played like a second striker again. It's worth pointing out formations. Sean Dyche just spoke about it and said that it's basically yardages, and he's not wrong, it is yardages. So obviously we've looked at their average positions. Now let's look at their passing map for the Newcastle-Aston Villa game that finished 5-1. As you can see here, the 4-2-3-1 that they played, they did switch to a 5-back at one point. I think that was just to try and stop the onslaught. But yeah, as you can see, passes attempted, Douglas Luiz, sorry. He completed the most passes, followed by Cash and then Konza. Pau Torres had the best pass completion, along with Douglas Luiz and Konza. And Douglas Luiz, once again, progressive passes, him, then followed by Luca Dean and Matty Cash. He completed the most. Konza completed the second most. Luca Dean, for all the progressive passes he attempted, actually wasn't on the most progressive passes completed. Ollie Watkins received the most. So from this, you can sort of see that everything there goes through the LDM, which is Douglas Luiz. Him and Luca Dean linked up very, very nicely, but majorly it played through him. He was the main centerpiece there. As you can see, they do sort of slant to the right. The cam decides to go up to the right-hand side there, which is very, very interesting. That's the side that would hit our left. So I'd be interested to see what Iwobi does there with the left back as well, Ashley Young. I feel like they might be a little bit busier. But very, very interesting. Like I said, the left mid does come in a little bit. It would allow an overlap, unlike the right mid on their other side, who is very much in to get them. And then we look at the pass map. Matty Cash, mostly sideways and backwards, a couple of good progressive ones there. Konza had a lot of progressive ones. Konza's is very, very impressive. I think he might be one to watch. Luca Dean, a couple, not enough to worry about. I think the main one is Douglas Luiz here. A lot of safe passes, completed ones, but then a lot of progressive ones as well. Certainly trying to put it back into the area. I think the ones mainly aiming for the area were him and Kamara, the two CDMs, which is very interesting. Pau Torres as well was on here, a couple of safe passes, but he does get very high up. I feel like the main people for us to target would be trying to stop Douglas Luiz controlling the midfield, trying to pressure him a little bit. We'd obviously have to stay compact. We can't allow the likes of the RB to get space or Leon Bailey to get space in between us. That'd cause all sorts of trouble. I don't expect to see John McGinn as left mid there again. Bundy is injured, hence why they were after Jack Harrison. I don't expect that to be a regular thing. Ollie Watkins had a very quiet day in the office, but as you can see in the pass received locations, mainly in the midfield, obviously the 4-2-3-1 gives them the numerical advantage, although we're going to be playing similar because I think Everton will come out in the 4-4-1-1. So it just means their wingers are a little bit higher up. Literally yardages, in the words of Sean Dyche, yardages. But yeah, it looks like Douglas Luiz is the one to stop if you want to stop them creating stuff. Here you can see their defensive actions. Some of these will have a lot of these because they did get beat 5-1. Matty Cash again. I actually really like Matty Cash. I think he's a very, very good right back. And I'm a bit jealous of Villa getting him. But as you can see there, put in a couple of defensive shifts. Did give away a few fouls here, which could be interesting. And sort of tackles lost here. The fouls would be interesting. He'd come alongside Iwobi or Danjuma if he's ready to play. I'd be interested to see how many he gives away against somebody like that. Douglas Luiz, you can see here a couple of recoveries, a tackle one. His isn't that good for a CDM, but obviously made up for that in his passing. I'd say Kamara probably put in a bit more defensive work, probably allowing him, if anything, Douglas Luiz is probably a roaming playmaker a little bit there, and Kamara is told to do the dog's bodies work a little bit more. And then Leon Bailey's isn't, and the RBs, either of them aren't very good. It's a bit hard to judge them on this because they were on the back foot for a lot of it. You don't win 5-1 and sort of have great defensive stats, otherwise you wouldn't have lost 5-1. You don't expect the RB and Leon Bailey to get back as much, which is what I said. The wingers were up high. You can see there the wingers aren't dropping back. The cam isn't really dropping back either. John McGinn, who played as the left midfielder, he didn't even get back that much, and that's a centre mid playing as a left midfielder. Look how quiet John McGinn was all game. So my sort of idea, if I was going to be, was to just keep it compact, try and keep Douglas Luiz off the ball, push him a bit. I target that left-hand side. John McGinn as a winger, I think he's going to be stuck on where to go. And then you're one-on-one with Luca Dean, who we know very well, and we do know defensive side is probably his more weaker side to the game. I'd attack that and see what we can get out of it. And hopefully, we can get something there. But that is the tactical, statistical sort of evaluation. It's the first one I've done on the channel, so I hope you like it. Hence the wobbliness at times, a little bit nervous. It was easier to tweet it out than it is to actually present it. I hope the visual aids help. I hope the coach board works. Any questions you have or things you don't understand, feel free to comment them or to say in the comments. I'm not saying I'm Pep Guardiola, if you think I might have misinterpreted something, let me know. But it's just an interesting side that I enjoy, and I hope I can bring it and try and say it in layman's terms as well. I read a couple and I love the stats and stuff, and I love tactical pieces, but I do read some and I think it just gets a little bit too much. There's too much technicality, and it's like sometimes you read a piece and it's good, like the author who wrote it's fantastic, it's all fantastic, but when you read it and you just think, just want to watch football, just want to watch 2 blocks of 4 wingers pacing it down the line, whipping it in, old style 4-4-2, because it's just easy. But yeah, so I've tried to put it in layman's terms. Let me know what you think. Hopefully this goes well. First video on the channel like this. See you guys very soon. Look forward to reading. And don't forget to subscribe as well. And you can follow me on Twitter as well. I'd appreciate that. See you guys soon.